Our project talks about the representation of women in the IMDb Top 250 films. What do the highest rated movies of a time say about the people who watch them? From the 1950s to the 2020s, the IMDb Top 250 movies represent the changing mindsets of audiences and directors. The way we represent women in film speaks volumes about the societal mindset towards them. We aim to explore the question, how do the top films represent women, and how has that changed over time? To evaluate women's representation in these films, we utilize the Bechdel test as a primary metric. Here we see how the data is distributed and how movies have done over time. We use a stacked area chart to observe a gradual increase in films passing the Bechdel test, especially noticeable in the 2010s. The 1980s have the lowest number of movies that pass the Bechdel test. Since women's representation varies greatly across genres, we plotted the Bechdel scores of the top 250 movies using a B-swarm chart. We can see here that genres like crime, action, and adventure that were almost entirely male-centric in the past are doing better in recent years. We allow the user to change what the unit size is mapped to. Changing it to gross earnings shows us that most of the highest grossing films pass the Bechdel test. Besides the Bechdel score, we also look at the director's genre as a metric. We observe that only a handful of these films have female directors. Next, we do a comparative analysis of the scripts of two movies, Jaws and Jurassic Park. Both are adventure and pass the Bechdel test. Highlighting the lines spoken by women reveals that women had 50% of the dialogues in Jurassic Park, but barely any in Jaws. By segmenting each movie script into 100 equal parts and analyzing the proportion of women's dialogues, we can better understand and compare the nuances of how women are represented in these films. Emotional analysis of dialogue reveals that women's dialogues in Jaws are focused mainly on anger and joy. In contrast, Jurassic Park presents a much higher range of emotions in women's dialogue, suggesting a richer representation for women. Now we take a look at the exploration of the waffle diagrams for dialogues for all the remaining films. Let's take a look at the data for two popular films.